The Olympic confession, the smell of chlorine, mixed with the deafening roar of the crowd, pierced my eardrums like 1,000 needles. I snapped my eyes open. Before me was the shimmering blue of the swimming lane, the water reflecting the harsh, blinding lights of the stadium's domed ceiling. I was standing on the starting block for the men's 100-meter freestyle final at the Olympic Games. Lane 8, the underdog's spot. I wasn't dead. Wasn't I just in that cold, damp studio apartment, swallowing a bottle of sleeping pills with half a fifth of cheap whiskey? Fragments of memory flooded back. The positive drug test. The gold medal stripped away. The lifetime ban. Coach Sullivan, good old Pop, dying of a heart attack from the sheer stress of the scandal. My girlfriend, Bree Miller, crying as she broke up with me, only to run straight into the arms of her childhood best friend, Jack Sterling. And Jax, my teammate and the eventual winner of that final, standing before the cameras with a look of smug pity as he announced his engagement to Bree. At that moment, I realized my entire life had been a punchline. I was the clown they had jointly pushed into the abyss. Caleb, what are you doing? Snap out of it. The panicked roar of Coach Sullivan came from the sidelines. I shuddered and turned. Pop was standing there, his face beet red, gesturing wildly at me. He was alive. I was really back on the day that destroyed my life. My gaze drifted past the coach to the front row of the stands. Bree Miller, my girlfriend at the time, was wearing the sundress I'd bought her, holding a Go Caleb sign, her face a mask of nervous tension. Beside her sat Jack Sterling. He was patting her shoulder to comfort her, but his eyes, when they met mine, were laced with venom. He looked exceptionally friendly today. Before the race, he had specifically brought me a bottle of water, smiling as he said, "Caleb, don't be nervous. Just relax. This has electrolytes. It'll keep your energy up." In my last life, I drank that water, and that water nailed me to the cross of public shame. I looked down. There was, sitting by my feet, the unopened bottle, the culprit of my ruin. My heart felt like it was being squeezed by an invisible hand. Hatred, resentment, and fury threatened to consume my sanity. I wanted to pay him back. I wanted him to taste the same professional suicide. No, that was too easy. I wanted him to fall from the clouds at the exact moment he felt most invincible. I wanted the whole world to see the ugly face beneath his mask. A desperate, wild plan took shape in my mind. "Take your marks," the starter's voice boomed. I took a deep breath, suppressing the storm inside. I bent down, gripping the edge of the block. My muscles coiled, ready for the explosion. The stadium went dead silent. Everyone held their breath. Jax's gaze swept over me, a tiny, almost imperceptible smirk playing on his lips. He thought I was about to dive into the trap he'd set. In the final microsecond before the starter pistol fired, I threw my hand up. Wait, my voice wasn't loud, but in the pin-drop silence of the arena, it cracked like thunder. Time seemed to freeze. Every eye in the building, and every camera lens, snapped to me. The head official, frowning, stepped down from his chair and marched toward me, his face tight with irritation. "Swimmer, what is the problem? Do you realize where you are?" His voice was heavy with warning. In the stands, Bree looked bewildered. Beside her, Jax's smug expression hadn't quite faded, replaced by a look of confusion. Only Coach Sullivan looked pale, his lips trembling as he stared at me. I ignored them all, looking the official straight in the eye. "Sir, before the race begins, I have something critical to report." My voice was so calm it terrified me. The official's patience snapped. "Anything you have to say can wait until after the heat. Get back into position." "I'm afraid it can't," I said, my voice steady, "because what I'm about to say determines whether I'm even eligible to be on this block." That stopped him in his tracks. He stared at me, his eyes sharp as scalpels. The red tally lights on the nearby cameras blinked like prying eyes. I knew the whole world was watching. Perfect. I took a breath and shouted it clearly for the officials, for the crowd, and for the global broadcast. "I am turning myself in. I, Caleb Vance of the U.S. Olympic team, have ingested a banned substance. I am reporting myself for doping." The world exploded. The color drained from the official's face. He stumbled back a step, pointing at me in disbelief. You what?" The stands erupted. Gasps, shouts of "what the hell?" and immediate jeers rolled over me like a tidal wave. Is he insane? What is he saying? Self-destructing before an Olympic final? Is this a stunt? What a disgrace. He just embarrassed the whole country. I saw Coach Sullivan's legs give way. He nearly collapsed, caught just in time by an assistant. He looked at me with eyes full of agony and despair. And Bree. She covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face instantly, her body swaying as if she'd been struck. "Caleb, why? Do you even know what you're saying?" she sobbed. I looked at her coldly. That tear-streaked face was the same one she wore in my previous life. After the test came back positive, she had cried just like that, saying, "Caleb, I'm so disappointed. I never thought you were that kind of person." Then she had turned and leaned on Jax's shoulder for comfort. How pathetic. My gaze shifted to Jax. His face was a chaotic mess of expressions: shock, manic glee, and a flicker of uncontrollable confusion. He was probably wondering why I was blowing myself up. This wasn't the script. I was supposed to swim, win, or place well, and then be surprised by the post-race urine test. Not this. Not a public execution on the blocks. I looked at him and smiled. It was a grin full of provocation and dark humor. Jax's face froze. He couldn't read that smile. An omen of dread began to crawl up his spine. The turnaround quiet. Quiet on the deck. The head official screamed, barely managing to control the chaos. He rushed back to me, his face livid, his voice a low hiss. "Caleb Vance, I'm giving you one chance. Retract that statement right now, or your life is over." I could see the pity in his eyes. He recognized talent. In my last life, he was the one who handed me the suspension notice, sighing as he said, "Son, one wrong step leads to a lifetime of regret." I felt a spark of warmth for him, but the plan didn't change. I shook my head. "Sir, I'm not crazy. Every word is true. I am requesting an immediate drug test." "You?" The official was shaking with rage. By now, several officials from FINA and the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, had rushed onto the deck. Leading them was a sharp-eyed man named David Miller, the head of the Anti-Doping Commission, known for his ironclad integrity. He stood before me, scanning me with a clinical gaze. "Young man, do you understand the gravity of this? Admitting to doping at the Olympic Games means your career ends today. You will be a pariah in the history of this sport." "I understand," I said, my eyes locked on his. "Very well." Miller nodded. No sympathy in his voice, only the cold mechanics of the job. "Since you have confessed, we are initiating an immediate investigation. You are disqualified from this final." He turned to give orders to the staff. "Wait." I spoke up again. Miller turned back, annoyed. "What else is there?" The corners of my mouth curled up. "The test. We should definitely do the test. But I'm not just requesting a test for myself." I pointed my finger like a loaded gun straight at Jax Sterling in the front row. "I am requesting an immediate public and comprehensive screening of myself, this bottle of water by my feet, and the swimmer in lane 5, Jax Sterling, along with all of his personal belongings." Right now, silence fell again. Every head turned to follow my finger. I saw the blood drain from Jax's face. The confusion and smugness vanished, replaced by a look of sheer, primal terror. He started to shake. Finally, he was panicking. "Caleb, have you lost your mind? What kind of lies are you spewing?" Bree was the first to react. She jumped up like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, screaming at me with a face full of indignant fury. "You did something wrong, so now you're trying to drag Jax down with you? You are pathetic." "Jax, huh?" Using the nickname now, I felt a cold laugh in my chest. In my last life, I was the simp who let her play me for a fool. I didn't even bother looking at her. My eyes stayed on Jax. "Lies." I raised an eyebrow. "Then why is he shaking like a leaf?" The camera is panned to Jax. Under the scrutiny of millions, Jax looked like he'd turned to stone. He forced a smile that looked more like a grimace. "Caleb, stop joking, man. This is the Olympic final. This isn't funny." His voice had an unmistakable tremor. "I'm not joking," I said, my smile turning ice cold. "I'm just curious why you're so scared of a simple test." "I'm not scared." Jax nearly screamed it. His loss of composure made his defense look pathetic. "I just think you're being insane. You cheated, and now you're slandering me." He turned to the officials, his face a mask of wounded righteousness. "Officials, please. Caleb and I are teammates. We're best friends. I can't believe he'd do this, let alone stab me in the back. I'll take any test you want to prove my innocence." What a performance. If I hadn't died once already, I might have believed him. In the stands, the mood shifted. "Yeah, who does he think he is, demanding tests for other people? He's just trying to take someone down with him. Poor Jax having a friend like that." Bree sobbed harder, looking at me with pure disgust. "Caleb, I really misjudged you. You're malicious." "Malicious? Compared to you two, I'm a saint." David Miller, the WADA head, frowned. He clearly thought my request was over the line. "Vance, we deal with your confession first. For allegations against other athletes, you need evidence." "Evidence?" I smiled. "I have it right here." I bent down and picked up the bottle of water Jax had so kindly given me. "This is the evidence." I twisted the cap off. Under the stunned gaze of the crowd, I brought it toward my mouth. "Caleb, don't." Coach Sullivan cried out. Bree gasped in horror. Only Jax had a flash of manic cruelty in his eyes. He thought I was going to drink it. If I drank it, he won. Instead, I just brought it to my nose, sniffed it, and handed it to Miller. Sir, smell it. There's a faint scent of almonds. It's a signature of rapid metabolism, a new designer steroid that's notoriously hard to catch with standard tests. Coincidentally, the lead investor in the lab that developed this drug is Jax Sterling's father. My voice, captured by the poolside microphones, carried across the stadium and into every living room in the world. Jax's face turned a ghostly white. You're full of it. Jax's body was convulsing with tremors now. His voice was high and thin with fear. My family runs a legitimate pharmaceutical business. We have nothing to do with banned substances. This is libel. Is it? I asked casually. Well, if it's libel, a lab test will clear it right up, won't it? I looked back at Miller. Sir, I'm confessing because I know I wouldn't pass a test if I drank this. But before my reputation is destroyed, I have the right to know who put me on that path. I admit to the presence of drugs, but I didn't take them willingly. This bottle was handed to me by Jax Sterling. I'm accusing him of malicious poisoning and framing a teammate. I request this water be seized as evidence, and I request an immediate search of Jax Sterling. I suspect that in his bag or his locker, you'll find the remaining vials he hasn't had time to dump yet. My words were like a series of depth charges. The entire stadium was stunned. A self-confessed doper accusing the gold medal favorite of a frame-up. This was better than any movie. Jax was unraveling. The reason he chose rapid metabolism was because it cleared the system fast. The plan was for me to drink it, swim, stall the urine test, and by the time it checked, it would be almost gone, or he could blame a supplement. But I hadn't followed the script. I blew the whistle before the race even started, and I named the drug. If they tested my blood now, it would be clean because I hadn't swallowed a drop. But the water was a smoking gun. And even worse, he did have a backup vial in his locker to dispose of later. Panic choked him. He couldn't let them search. No. Jax screamed, losing all control. This is a violation of my rights. I didn't do anything. You can't search me because of the ramblings of a madman. The more he screamed, the more guilty he looked. Miller's eyes turned sharp. As an investigator, he had seen 1,000 liars. Jax was failing the innocence test miserably. Athlete, calm down, Miller said coldly. If you are innocent, the test will vindicate you. If you refuse, we have every reason to suspect you are hiding something. Jax stammered, sweat pouring down his face. He looked at Bree for help. Bree was lost. She looked at me, then at Jax, her mind a mess. But her history with Jax made her jump to his side. Official. Caleb is just jealous. He's crazy because Jax is better than him. Jealous. I chuckled, looking at the foolish woman. Bree, ask your best friend why he's so terrified of a simple search if he's so innocent. Jax was speechless. Suddenly, Coach Sullivan broke through the staff. He grabbed my arm, his eyes bloodshot, his voice raspy. Caleb, tell me the truth. What's happening? Did you take it or not? I looked into Pop's eyes, the man who would have died of a broken heart because of me. Not this time. I gripped his hand and said firmly, Coach, trust me. I didn't. For words. Absolute conviction. Sullivan shuddered. He had known me for 10 years. He knew my character better than anyone. After a long silence, he let go of my hand, turned to Miller and the officials, and gave a deep bow. Gentlemen, I believe my swimmer. I stake my entire career and reputation on this. Caleb Vance is not a cheat. I also demand a full investigation into Jax Sterling. The coach's support was the final nail. Jax's spirit broke. No, I don't consent. Jax shrieked, trying to bolt for the exit, only to be tackled by security. His reaction said everything. Miller's face was like stone. He didn't hesitate. He gestured to his team. Lock down the deck. Secure Mr. Sterling. Legal team, get a warrant for the lockers immediately. Medical team, prepare for on-site sampling. Today, we get to the bottom of this. The stadium was placed under lockdown. The audience was told to stay in their seats. The truth revealed the media was kept behind the barriers, but their cameras were like cannons, greedily recording every second. This was the most dramatic day in Olympic history. 2 medical officials in white coats approached with sampling kits. I calmly offer my arm for the blood draw. Jax, meanwhile, was fighting like a cornered animal, screaming curses. Let me go. You can't do this. I'll sue you all. My father is Richard Sterling of Sterling Global. You touch me, and you're finished. Against the cold machinery of WADA, his threats were laughable. 2 large security guards pinned him to a chair while the medics forced the draw. Simultaneously, another team, led by Miller, headed for the locker rooms. My heart was in my throat. This was the moment. Bree stood frozen, looking at the restrained Jax, then at the calm version of me. Her face shifted from anger to confusion, then to a creeping realization. Caleb, she whispered, this isn't real, right? Jax wouldn't. I gave her a sidelong glance. Now you're asking me? Too late. My indifference hit her like a bucket of ice water. She looked at me as if I were a stranger. In her mind, I was still the simp who would do anything she asked. That guy died in my last life. Time ticked by. Every second was agony for Jax. His face went from pale to ash gray. Finally, Miller returned. In his hand was a transparent evidence bag. Inside was a half-used syringe. The yellowish liquid inside caught the light ominously. Miller walked up to Jax and held up the bag. Mr. Sterling, would you care to explain why this was in your locker? Jax's pupils contracted. He looked at the vial as if it were a ghost. His final defense crumbled. It's not mine. It's not mine, he shrieked. Caleb, he framed me. He put it there. Oh, I raised an eyebrow. My locker is on the other side of the room, past 20 other teammates. How did I sneak in and plant that without anyone seeing? Furthermore, I added, delivering the killing blow. Since I turned myself in, I've been under constant surveillance on this deck. But you, Jax, you were in the locker room alone for 10 minutes right before the call to the blocks. Who has the better window of opportunity? My logic was ironclad. Jax opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Also, Miller added coldly, we've recovered clear fingerprints from the plunger of the syringe. We'll have a match in minutes. Fingerprints. That word ended it. Jax's legs gave out, and he slumped to the floor, his eyes vacant. He was finished. The truth was exposed in the most public way possible. The lab results came back. Jax's prints were on the syringe. The water bottle was laced with rapid metabolism. My blood test? Clean as a whistle. The news hit the wires instantly. The sports world and the general public were in an uproar. The Olympics, the pinnacle of human achievement, had been tainted by a cold-blooded frame-up. Jax was led away in handcuffs. As they dragged him out, he glared at me with pure, unadulterated hatred. Caleb Vance, I'll see you in hell. You're already there, I said quietly. You destroyed my life once. Now you're just getting a taste of your own medicine. Actually, it was worse for him. In my last life, I was just banned. He was facing felony charges for tampering and poisoning. Jax was gone. His career and his life were over. And I, Caleb Vance, went from a confessed cheat to a whistleblower hero. Flashbulbs popped like crazy. Reporters were like sharks smelling blood. Coach Sullivan ran over and hugged me, the grizzled man crying like a baby. Good lad, you didn't let me down. My eyes blurred with tears. Pop, I saved you this time. I saved your legacy. In the crowd, Bree Miller stood alone. She looked at me with a mix of shock, guilt, and a terror she didn't yet understand. She was seeing the real me for the first time. Not the fool she could manipulate, but the man who could smile while sending her best friend to prison. She tried to approach me, her lips moving, but no sound came out. I didn't give her the chance. I helped Pop toward the break room, escorted by security. I never looked back at her. To me, she was already a ghost. The fallout was swift. The IOC and FINA held a midnight press conference. Jax Sterling was banned for life, and all his previous titles were stripped. Because his actions were criminal, he was handed over to the authorities. Sterling Global's stock plummeted overnight. His father, once untouchable, grew old in a day, begging for favors that no one would grant. When a wall falls, everyone gives it a shove. That's reality. I was the only winner. My name was on the front page of every sports site in the world. People praised my courage and my wit. Endorsement offers and interview requests poured in. The national team gave me a commendation. Pop was promoted. Everything was perfect, but I felt an exhaustion I'd never known. The injustice of my last life and the revenge of this one had drained me. I didn't want to stay in this world of ego and backstabbing. While everyone expected me to start a new Vance era in swimming, I held my own press conference. I said one thing. As of today, I, Caleb Vance, am officially retiring. I walked away from the podium, ignoring the frantic questions. Gold medals, fame, money, the things others killed for, meant nothing to me now. I just wanted to live for myself. I wanted a lying flat life, sleeping until I felt like waking up, eating whatever I wanted, and doing things I actually loved. Retirement was better than I imagined. I used my savings and some endorsement money to buy a house with a large yard in the suburbs. I turned the yard into a vegetable garden and an orchard. I built a trellis for grapes. I started studying the art of American regional cooking. Southern comfort food, Pacific Northwest seafood, Texas barbecue. Every flavor was a revelation. I learned to brew my own craft beer and distill my own fruit brandies. In my spare time, I worked out, read, or invited a few real friends over for a backyard barbecue, drinking my own brews and looking at the stars. No high-pressure training, no politics. My body and mind relaxed. My six-pack stayed, but now it was for me, not for a stopwatch. Of course, life had its annoyances. Like Brie, she showed up almost every day. Sometimes she brought home-cooked food. Sometimes she held the old teddy bear I'd bought her. She'd stand at my gate for hours, crying for forgiveness, saying she was blinded by Jax and that she'd always loved me. A new beginning, I never opened the door. I just watched her haggard face on my security camera. I felt nothing. Some mistakes last a lifetime. A broken mirror can never be perfectly mended. Then one day, an unexpected guest arrived. Maya Rhodes. She was the only sports journalist who hadn't joined the lynch mob when I confessed. She had reported the facts objectively. When I opened the door, Maya was standing under my grape trellis, curiously inspecting my plants. She wasn't in her professional suit today, but a simple white sundress, her long hair loose, a gentle smile on her face. She looked intelligent and kind. The sunlight through the vines made her look almost ethereal. One word popped into my head. Muse. "Hello, Caleb," she said, not surprised to see me. She held out a hand. "I'm Maya. We met briefly at your press conference." I said, shaking her hand. Her palm was soft and slightly cool. "I hope I'm not intruding," she asked, her eyes crinkling into crescents. "Not at all. Come. Wow, this place is incredible," she said as she entered the yard. "It's like a hidden sanctuary." She was like a curious child, looking at my tomatoes and touching my succulents. Who would have thought the god of the pool was such a homebody? She winked at me. I felt a bit self-conscious. "Just a hobby. This is more than a hobby level." She walked to my cellar door, her eyes lighting up. "You brew your own stuff?" "A little. Can I try some?" She looked at me expectantly. I couldn't say no to those eyes. I brought out a bottle of my new peach brandy and made 2 small plates of appetizers. We sat at the stone table under the trellis. The brandy was sweet with a hint of summer. Maya took a sip and closed her eyes. "Oh, that's amazing. Better than anything I've bought in a store." Seeing her satisfied look made me feel strangely happy. We talked for hours about swimming, food, travel. We realized we had so much in common. We both loved spicy food, old movies, and the same obscure indie band. Talking to her was easy. She was sharp, but never made me feel pressured. She listened to every word I said and offered her own insights, sometimes funny, sometimes deep. Before we knew it, the bottle was empty. Maya's cheeks were flushed, her eyes a bit misty. "Caleb," she said, leaning her chin on her hand. "You know, when I first saw you on TV, I knew you were different. Everyone was trashing you, but I felt that a person's eyes don't lie. Yours didn't have that. Darkness. When you proved your innocence, I wasn't surprised. I was just impressed." Her voice was soft, like a feather brushing against my heart. I looked at her face, smelling the mix of peach brandy and her faint perfume. My heart skipped a beat. A strange, tingling sensation spread through me. I realized my body was reacting to her proximity. In 2 lifetimes, I'd never felt this. I should get you home," I said, looking away and standing up. "I'm fine," she said, but as she stood up too quickly, she wobbled. I instinctively reached out to steady her. She was warm and soft as she bumped into my chest. My body went rigid. The contact, the scent, it blew right through my defenses. You okay?" I stammered. Maya looked up at me, her eyes watery, a playful smile on her lips. Suddenly, she stood on her tiptoes, looped her arms around my neck, and before I could react, her soft lips pressed against the corner of my mouth. "Fleeting, ben Turkish." "That's for the brandy," she said. Then she let go and ran off like a mischievous fox. I stood there, frozen. My fingertips still felt the warmth of her skin. My lips still held the sweetness of her kiss. I touched my mouth and started to grin like an idiot. So this was what falling in love felt like. From that day on, Maya became a regular. She always had an excuse. "Caleb, my mom wants to try that brandy. Do you have more?" "Caleb, I found 2 vintage vinyl records you'll love. I'm bringing them over." "Caleb, my cat lost a fight with a neighbor's dog and he's depressed. He needs to walk in your garden." Her excuses were adorable, and I pretended to believe every one of them. She'd bring small gifts, a book, flowers, homemade cookies. I'd have a meal and a bottle of something waiting for her. We'd eat, talk, and listen to music. Sometimes she'd nap in my lounge chair. Sometimes I'd teach her to garden, and she'd accidentally water her own feet and laugh. The tension between us grew, but neither of us broke the spell. We enjoyed the slow burn. I was waiting for the right moment. The moment came sooner than I thought. I was in my home gym, working up a sweat. Since retiring, fitness was my therapy. Looking at my definition in the mirror gave me a sense of control. Maya called, her voice sounding frantic. "Caleb, are you busy? My car broke down. Where are you?" I dropped the towel immediately. "On the old mountain road, toward the outskirts. I'll send you my location." I changed and sped out in my SUV. It was nearly dark when I found her. Her red coupe was on the shoulder, hazard lights blinking. She looked small and helpless standing there. "Thank God," she said, waving. "My phone's almost dead, and it's so quiet out here." "I've got you," I said. I checked the car. The engine had a serious issue. "We need a tow. Get in my car. It's getting cold." I turned up the heater for her. She rubbed her hands together. "Thank you. I'm always such a bother." "Don't worry about it," I smiled. Suddenly, bright headlights approached. 3 black sedans boxed us in. Doors opened, and a group of men in suits and sunglasses stepped out. The leader had a jagged scar across his cheek. My heart sank. "Trouble." Maya gripped my arm. "Don't be afraid," I whispered. "Stay in the car." I stepped out. "What's this about?" Scarface looked me up and down. "You Caleb Vance?" "Yeah. Our boss want a word." "Who's your boss?" "Richard Sterling. Jack's his father." I narrowed my eyes. "He was looking for blood." "And if I say no?" "Then we do this the hard way," Scarface said, cracking his knuckles. His men closed in. The atmosphere was electric. Maya was white as a sheet inside the car. I counted 10 of them, all built like tanks. A fair fight was out of the question. I searched for an opening. Suddenly, Scarface looked at Maya in the car. "Hey, look at that. A little something extra for the boss to enjoy." That was the spark. "Don't you dare touch her." Fury ignited in my chest. As they reached for the car door, I moved. The rescue eye landed a sidekick squarely on the lead man's knee. There was a sickening crunch, and he went down screaming. I followed up with a spinning elbow to the next guy's temple. He hit the pavement like a sack of flour. Years of Olympic-level training meant my explosive power and reaction time were far beyond any street thug. To these guys, I was a blur. In seconds, I dropped 4 of them. Scarface was stunned. "Get him. Kill the bastard." They swarmed me. I was good, but I couldn't hold off 10 people forever. I took a heavy blow to the back of the head. Darkness flickered in my vision. Suddenly, the car door flew open. Maya rushed out holding a fire extinguisher, like a small, angry lioness. She swung the heavy canister and slammed it into the head of the man who'd hit me. Thud! He went down hard. Everyone froze. Even me. I looked at her, this tiny woman standing in front of me with fierce determination. "Get in the car," she screamed at me. "I call the police. They're almost here." Scarface snarled. "You little bitch." He swung a steel pipe at her head. My heart stopped. "Look out." I threw myself over her, shielding her with my body. The pipe slammed into my back. Ugh, the pain was blinding. I gritted my teeth, holding her tight. She was shaking in my arms. "Caleb. Oh God, Caleb. I'm Fine." I wheezed. Still protecting her, Scarface spat, raising the pipe again. But then, the distant wail of sirens cut through the night. The sound grew louder and louder. Scarface cursed. "Damn it. Move out." They vanished as quickly as they'd come. The police arrived, but I couldn't hold on any longer. Everything went black. I woke up in a hospital room. My back felt like it had been branded with a hot iron. Every movement was agony. "Don't move." Maya's voice was thick and raspy. I turned my head. She was sitting by the bed, her eyes red and swollen. "How long?" I croaked. "A full day," she said, her eyes filling with tears again. "Severe soft tissue damage, minor concussion. You scare me to death." I reached out my hand to wipe her tears, but the movement flared the pain in my back. I winced. "Stop," she said, pressing my hand down. She brought my hand to her lips and blew softly on it. "Does it still hurt?" "Not anymore," I said. Looking at her, the pain didn't seem to matter. The room was quiet. I took a breath. "Maya, yeah. Be my girlfriend. For real." The words I'd rehearsed 1,000 times finally came out. Maya froze. She looked at me as if searching for something. "Are you saying that because you got hurt for me?" "No," I interrupted. "It has nothing to do with that. I like you since the first day you came over. I like your laugh. I like the way you talk. I like everything about you. I'm not being impulsive. I'm serious." I waited for the verdict. Maya started crying again, but these were happy tears. She didn't say a word. She just leaned down and kissed me. It wasn't a fleeting kiss this time. It was deep, full of the relief of being alive and the joy of being together. I kissed her back, and suddenly my back didn't hurt at all. The sun was shining outside. My world was finally full of light. True Gold, we were official. Life with Maya was sweet. She moved in, and my sanctuary became our home. She still watered her own feet in the garden, and she still acted as my guinea pig for new recipes, even when they were too spicy. When I worked out, she'd sit nearby, studying my abs and occasionally reaching out to touch them before laughing at my mock protest. We had nicknames, May and Vance. Our cat and dog became inseparable. Life was a dream. But Richard Sterling wasn't done. His son was serving 10 years, and he blamed me for everything. He tried to crush me financially, but he quickly found out I wasn't the easy target he expected. After retiring, I'd started a boutique investment firm. With my knowledge of the future economy, my investments had seen massive returns. I was wealthier than Sterling realized. When financial pressure failed, he went low. He sent goons to harass us and spread rumors online that I was a serial cheater and a fraud. I ignored it. The truth eventually comes out, but Maya wouldn't stand for it. One day at the grocery store, a notification popped up, a trending hashtag, Caleb Vance cheating. It featured a blurry photo of me with a young girl outside a bar. People started whispering as we walked by. That's him. Guess he really is a piece of work. My face darkened. I was ready to snap. Maya stopped me. She took out her phone and started an Instagram live. The title, Responding to the Trash. As a famous journalist, she had hundreds of thousands of followers. The viewer count exploded. She pointed the camera at herself, then at me, then at our cart full of groceries. Hi everyone, I'm Maya Rodis. About the rumors, 2 things. First, the girl in the photo is my cousin. She's a freshman. It was her birthday, I couldn't go, so I asked my boyfriend Caleb to drop off her gift. Any questions? Second, she took my hand, interlacing our fingers for the camera with a brilliant smile. Caleb is mine, and I trust him. As for the people hiding in the shadows, spreading this garbage. Her voice went cold, her investigative journalist aura taking over. I suggest you back off. I know exactly who you are. Richard Sterling. If you touch a hair on Caleb's head again, I will make it my personal mission to see Sterling Global erased from the map. Don't believe me? Try me. She ended the stream. It took less than 3 minutes. I was speechless. The crowd in the store was stunned. Maya looked at me and laughed. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed me. What? My man, my rules. I felt a surge of pure happiness. Maya's live stream was a nuclear bomb. The hashtags changed. Hashtag Maya Rhodes Queen. Hashtag Sterling Global is finished. People started digging into her background. Wait, the Rhodes family? Like the Manhattan Rhodes family. Yeah, if the Sterlings are rich, the Rhodes are old money royalty. Richard Sterling finally realized he'd kicked a hive of hornets. He vanished from our lives, terrified of the fallout. We began planning our wedding. No grand ceremony, just a sunset in the backyard with my home-brewed wine. I designed the rings myself, engraved with our intertwined fingerprints. Maya, I said, kneeling in the grass. Marry me. She laughed through her tears and held out her hand. The wedding was small. Coach Sullivan sat in the front row, grinning ear to ear. When we said our vows, I looked at Maya in her white dress and felt like the luckiest man alive. I whispered in her ear, "Thank you, wife. Thank you for being the light that pulled me out of the dark." She looked at me with stars in her eyes. Silly, we're family now. That night, as I held her, the scars on my back had faded, but the warmth of her protection remained. Vance, she whispered, tracing circles on my chest. What are you thinking about? I rolled over, pinning her playfully to the bed, thinking about how to thank my savior. I kissed her as the moonlight spilled across the floor. I finally understood the meaning of my second life. It wasn't about revenge or fame. It was about becoming a better man and finding the right person. Gold medals fade. Records are broken. But love lasts. That was the only gold medal that ever mattered. Story complete.